The coronation shock. How Princess Charlotte's bold move stole the crown spotlight. It was supposed to be just another grand day in royal history. But then Princess Charlotte did that. And suddenly, centuries of tradition cracked, right in front of the world. But before we continue, please subscribe, like, share, and turn on the notification bell for more updates. A day of crowns and cracks. When the world tuned in for the coronation of King Charles III, most expected pomp, pageantry, and a carefully choreographed tribute to royal legacy. The streets of London sparkled with Union Jack flags, Westminster Abbey gleamed under crystal chandeliers, and a collective hush fell as the crown was placed on Charles's head. But what the cameras caught next wasn't rehearsed. It wasn't part of the script, and it wasn't something Buckingham Palace could spin, because just as the world expected a coronation, it got a confrontation. And right in the heart of it stood a surprising heroine, Princess Charlotte. Now, before we dive into Charlotte's headline-making moment, let's rewind a bit. You need the full story to truly appreciate how one tiny royal gesture became the spark that lit the fuse beneath an age-old institution. The crown, the conflict, and the Camilla-Catherine clash. As Charles stood in his regalia, the air around the royal family was tense. Not that you'd see it on the official broadcast. But lip readers, body language experts, and let's be honest, eagle-eyed royal fans on TikTok caught what the BBC cameras didn't focus on: a terse exchange between Queen Camilla and Catherine, the Princess of Wales. It was subtle, barely a moment, but to those watching closely, it was electric. Camilla, always poised but notoriously particular, was seen scolding Catherine. Yes, scolding, in what appeared to be a disagreement over seating arrangements, protocol, or perhaps something more personal. Was it a power play? A long-simmering feud finally bubbling to the surface? We may never know the exact words exchanged, but the energy, icy, sharp, unmistakably frosty, was clear. And the most shocking part? It happened during Charles's big moment. Talk about stealing the show. But that wasn't even the peak of the day's drama. Oh no, dear reader. That was just the appetizer. Because what happened next made Camilla's glare look like a friendly wink. Curious yet? You should be. Enter Princess Charlotte, small in size, giant in presence. At just 9 years old, Princess Charlotte has long been dubbed the mini Elizabeth, witty, strong-willed, and uncannily composed for her age. But no one expected her to be the one to flip the royal narrative. As the tension between Camilla and Catherine played out like a silent thunderstorm behind the crown, Charlotte, seated neatly between her brothers, stood up. Not literally, that would have caused an uproar. But in the calmest, most composed way possible, she leaned toward her mother and whispered something that made Catherine's expression shift from pinched to powerful. Moments later, Catherine rose to her feet with a subtle but unmistakable grace. She repositioned herself and Charlotte, firmly asserting presence beside Camilla without uttering a word. That's when the real bombshell dropped. Charlotte glanced directly at Camilla and gave her a look that said, without words, "You may be queen, but we know who really leads this family." And social media? Lost its mind. Twitter exploded. Instagram fan accounts reposted the clip with slow-mo breakdowns. TikTok crowned Charlotte the unofficial queen of clapback. But what exactly did she whisper? What did it mean? And why did the world rally behind a young girl in a moment that should have belonged to her grandfather? Stay with me, we're just getting started. Royal ripples, the fallout no one predicted. To understand the weight of Charlotte's moment, we need to talk about optics, aka the royal family's secret weapon and biggest vulnerability. For over 1,000 years, the monarchy has thrived on tradition, appearance, and unity. The coronation was meant to reinforce that, projecting an image of strength and stability. But what the world saw instead was a family cracking at the seams. Camilla's glare, Catherine's quiet dignity, Charlotte's decisive gesture. And here's where things get real. Public perception shifted instantly. Polls taken just days after the coronation showed a dip in Camilla's popularity, especially among younger generations. Meanwhile, Catherine and Charlotte surged, with media outlets calling Charlotte the face of the monarchy's future. Think about that. A single moment, a mere glance, and suddenly the carefully managed royal narrative began to unravel. It's almost Shakespearean, isn't it? And we're not done yet. It's over for her. The whisper echoing through the palace. Rumors spread fast in royal circles, and according to insiders, read former palace staff, and the occasional friend of a friend, Charlotte's boldness didn't sit well with everyone, particularly Camilla. She was humiliated, one anonymous source claimed. She felt upstaged in what should have been her triumphant moment. But for many royal watchers, the takeaway was clear. It's over for her. Not literally, of course. Camilla remains queen consort. But in the hearts of the people, the tide is turning. Because when a 9-year-old girl exudes more calm, strength, and leadership than the adults around her, it's hard not to root for her. Charlotte didn't just steal the spotlight, she redefined it. And that raises a big, juicy question. Is this the beginning of a new era for the royal family? We're about to find out. The real power of poise. Lessons from a princess. Let's pause for a second. What is it about Charlotte's moment that struck such a chord? Was it her confidence? Her maturity? The way she seemed to know the weight of the moment and respond with subtlety instead of spectacle? Absolutely. But more than that, it was a reminder of what true leadership looks like. It's not about yelling the loudest or demanding attention. It's about reading the room, staying calm under pressure, knowing when to speak, and when silence says more than words ever could. In a world that often rewards noise, Charlotte reminded us that grace under fire is a superpower. And that's something we could all use more of. So, how can you channel your inner Charlotte when life throws you into chaos? Let's talk tips. A royal toolkit. How to stay poised in your own life drama. You may not be navigating coronation ceremonies and public scrutiny, but we all face high-stakes moments where our reaction defines the outcome. Here's how to keep your crown straight, even when things get messy. Pause before reacting. Charlotte didn't rush. Neither should you. Take a breath. Observe. Then choose your move. Use body language like a boss. You don't need to speak loudly to make a point. Your posture, eye contact, and presence speak volumes. Stay loyal to your values. Catherine stood tall not because she was right, but because she was grounded. Know your core and act from it. Let action speak louder. Don't tell people who you are. Show them. Consistency over noise wins every time. Lead with kindness, but hold the line. Being composed doesn't mean being a pushover. Boundaries and grace. That's queen behavior. Now, back to the palace. Because things are heating up again. The new royal reality. What's next for the firm? The monarchy has faced plenty of scandals, from abdications to tell-all interviews. But this was different.